Okay, for number 42, we want the 5-number summary. And then underneath this, that little excerpt from the book, I put the rules for finding percentiles, because the 5-number summary, right, is really the 25th percentile, the median, which is the 50th percentile, and the 75th percentile. And so I want to explain these a little bit. So first thing we need to do is put all the numbers in order. So negative 13 is the smallest one, then negative 5.2, and then negative 4. And if you do this problem, you have the ones that match up, I think, so you don't have to redo all the data. That's why they're saying use the stuff from this one and then write down the 5-number summary, but I'm just going to start from scratch so we can see the whole thing. Okay, so next smallest number is 6, then 8, then 10, then 10.4, and then 12.6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers. Okay, so let's do the median using these rules and just our normal way of saying, well, the median's in the middle. Okay, so if I have 8 numbers, then the median, the 50th percentile, falls halfway in between 6 and 8. So that means my median, halfway between 6 and 8, is 7. And sometimes, too, in the 5-number summary, before I start, I like to write down all the things I'm looking for. And I like to write them in order because it reminds me it's like smallest, middle number, next biggest, and then the biggest number. And then 2 of these are really quick and easy. What's the smallest number on our list? Negative 13 is the minimum. And then the maximum is 12.6. So Q1 and Q3 are the 25th and the 75th percentile, which also makes this the 50th percentile. It's what splits your data in half. So let's say we're using these rules here. Let's see if it gets us the same median. So find the locator. If I want the 50th percentile, I do 50% times the number of numbers I have. And so really all of that's doing is saying, well, if I want to be 50% of the way through a list of 8 numbers, where do I want to fall? Oh, on number 4. But then picture in this one, see if I fall on number 4, that puts 3 numbers on this side and 5 on that side. I really want to be a little bit above it. And so this is where these 2 rules come in. If L is a whole number, so like we fell on right here, 4, use L.5. It means go halfway in between that number and the next number. So I don't just take 4 as my median. Since I landed on a whole number like 4, and that means the 4th number, not like the number 4. In the data set. So the 4th number, that means I take halfway between 4 and 5, the 4.5th number, if you think of it that way. So if I get a whole number, I go a little bit up. If I land in between 2, then I take the next bigger number. So you're always doing a little bit of rounding up, and you can kind of see in this case why that happens, because this is the middle. So if I take the 4th number, it's not the middle. 4.5, halfway in between 4 and 5, is the middle. Okay, so then let's do this for Q1. So if I want to be the 25th percentile, I want to be 25% of the way through a list of 8 numbers. That would be what? The second number, 0.25, 1/4 of 8. So it'd be the second number. But because I landed on a whole number, I don't literally take the second number. I go halfway in between. I take the digit 2.5, so halfway in between 2 and 3. Now also picture if we're thinking about splitting this into quarters, see how that puts an even amount? There's 2 numbers here and 2 numbers here. And you can even almost eyeball because this list is kind of small. I bet that Q3 will fall here. You can just kind of see the symmetry. And so if you didn't go halfway in between, it wouldn't be equal. It wouldn't be cutting this into equal quarters. Okay, so if I go halfway in between negative 5.2 and 4, is negative 4.6, just the average of those 2 numbers. So Q1 is negative 4.6. It's like 0.6 smaller than this and 0.6 bigger than this. Just add them up and divide by 2. Okay, then right here, what's halfway between 10 and 10.4? Looks like 10.2 would be halfway between there. And if we go all the way back to our method, if I go 75% of the way through a list of 8 things, so my locator is telling me to take the the 6 number, but because it's a whole number, I round up and take the 6.5 number, so halfway between 6 and 7. And so that's what the big thing about this percentile thing is. When you get, let's say 6 is the locator, it doesn't mean that 6 is Q3. It means go to the 6th number. So that's why they're calling it the locator. Okay, so now I have my 5-number summary. Minimum, 20, quarter of the way through, halfway through, 3/4 of the way through the list, and the maximum. And so then they want me to draw a box plot. Erase some of this stuff to make room. So the big thing on a box plot is for it to be telling of how your data is spread out, you want to make sure that you cut up your scale evenly. So if I'm thinking of drawing a number line to put my box plot on, so first I'll draw a line, then I'll go, okay, well I need it to go from at least -13 up to 12. So just to maybe make it nice even numbers, let's say we'll go from -15 up to 15. And so then 0 would fall halfway in the middle. And so then I could do 5 and 10 might fall here and here, which means this would be -5 and this would be -10. So make your scale cut up evenly, because these numbers might skew one way or the other, and that's what you want to see in the box plot is, are all the numbers high or all the numbers low? You want to see how they spread out. If your scale isn't kind of evenly spread out, then you won't be able to see that here. Okay, and then so how's it work in the box plot? I draw a line at my maximum minimum, and I draw a box for the middle 50% of data, because think, if this cuts off the lower quarter and this cuts off the upper quarter, that half the data is between here and here. And then just to show the median, I draw a line in the middle. And so all these are going to be represented. Now it won't look perfectly symmetrical like this because it depends what the actual numbers are. So my minimum's -13. So if this is -15, -13, it'd probably fall about there. And then Q1 is -4.6, so a little smaller than -5, a little bigger. So there's my line for my box. And then my median is 7, so a little more than 5. And Q3 is 10.2, so just barely more than 10. And so there's my box. And then my maximum's 12.6, so not really to 15, maybe like here-ish, halfway between. So see how by having our scale even, I can see that like this between 25 and 50% of the data is a little more spread out than between 50% and 75%, and this bottom part's more spread out. So make your scale even and then put these values on the lines.